your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Talk. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
Well, it's been a couple weeks since the news has dropped, but I guess we feel the need to do some sort of tribute, right? Some sort of tribute to the late, great Corey Yuen. Today's that episode. We're covering one of his early, if not the, we can consider it the earliest in his directing.
Well, his first directing debut.
Directing thing, yes. Anyways, definitely needed to give him a proper send off for his death announcement 2 years after the fact.
That's so crazy. I can't believe that it came out because Jackie Chan posted a comment about it. I think forgetting. Oh, maybe not forgetting, but maybe inadvertently letting it slip that he was not supposed to talk about the fact that Corey Yuen has passed, because he was talking about the 65th anniversary of the Seven Little Fortunes, the group of students he was a part of that kind of their careers kind of rocketed into Hong Kong action cinema, and Corey Yuen being one of them.
Yeah, it's man, imagine Jackie never dropped that information. We would never know.
We would never know, yeah, because apparently the family didn't want to tell the public, which is so strange. I didn't know you could do that.
It's one thing to not want to share, which for whatever reason I respect it, but it's just the logistics of somehow keeping that a secret is mind-boggling that they were able to hold on to this information for so long. But anyways, rest in peace, Corey Yuen. Let's honor you by talking about a movie I did not. I mean, I knew of the movie. I never watched it until now. So, directorial debut or technically solo directorial debut. I guess he's technically had been working on stuff before this, but not on his own. Wow, what a way to start your career! Right? What a it's entertaining. It's a very entertaining film. We are talking about Ninja in the Dragon's Den. You see it, you clicked on this, you know what we're talking about. I'm sure a lot of people are also, choosing this as a send-off movie too. But what a way to, what a way to to go, really, because he's this is it shows signs of the Corey Yuenisms later on in his career, but this is in that early 80s time era, I guess you can call it, and it does somewhat feel dated at times, but it's never at any point I find to be boring, right?
Definitely. It's an 80s film. The music, the subject matter of ninjas, which I think is always fun. It's always fun to do cinematically, and I love that they keep in line with the idea that ninjas work in the shadows, and so he really plays up to that with the visuals of this movie, which I think are amazing. And the opening sequence of this movie is so funny because I feel it doesn't have anything to do with the movie. It's just a montage of ninja shit. Hey, we're buried in the sand. Now we're gonna surface and just start jumping around and doing things in unison to this 80s synth track. And that kind of gets you all piped up and hot and bothered for the movie.
Man, I was gonna say, that synth track, that's the score, or that one theme song is it's great because it does play throughout, instrumentally, throughout the movie, but then it's a one way to open up the movie. It does make it feel cheesier than it actually is. Watching the original dub, the original Cantonese and Japanese voiceovers. Like there's still that theme song which is played out in English or it's sung in English, and I thought I had like the wrong version of the song, the movie playing, because it's one of those tracks that you can just imagine, maybe a Western distributor like thinking, okay, we need to dub over the movie with like something more Oriental. like stereotypically Oriental, but like no, that's the actual original version theme song. I don't know. I like something to point out because it's like it's such a cheesy song to put into the film, but then again, you can look at the whole movie and nitpick it for all this cheesiness, but it's still a very entertaining watch. Like for all its minor, I wouldn't call them flaws, but things you can definitely nitpick the hell out of.
Right. I've been wanting to watch this for a while. For some reason, I think the title kind of turned me off. Ninja in the Dragon's Den. It just sounded so unappealing to me, as opposed to maybe Corey Yuen's later films, which I guess had more straightforward titles, maybe 2-word titles. But something about it, I was like, Ninja, Dragon's Den? I guess I was thinking fantasy, but this is not, nowhere near that. It's just a straight up Chinese guy versus a Japanese guy, and them constantly just going back and forth at each other throughout the course of the movie.
Zero, since you're on it, what is the story?
Oh boy. So, one of the stars of the film, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, is a ninja who is going around killing members of a different ninja clan, and ninja clan that's in Japan. Something happens, and so he goes to China, and he's trying to kill Conan Lee's adopted
uncle?
Japanese uncle. And that's the main gist of the story. Now that I say it out, I was gonna say, is there anything else to elaborate? Like Conan Lee, he's just a martial artist. He has his little sidekick played by Taibo, and really they don't really do much in the beginning of the movie. They're at some sort of festival and fair that just kind of sets up he can fight. But once Hiroyuki Sanada starts trying to assassinate his uncle, that's basically where the whole story starts, because he's trying to defend the uncle, he's trying to then figure out what's going on, and then they just have a literal back and forth throughout the whole movie until things get resolved in the end.
Right. The movie will open up, and in the opening credits it says starring Hiroyuki Sanada. I would argue he's more like the second billing. He's not really the main character. It's really the Conan Lee show for the longest time. You're following him for the most part.
In the beginning of the movie, it's
in the beginning of the movie.
Conan Lee. And we've never spoken about him before either.
Not really, no. Yeah. This Jackie Chan, clone. He really does. And I'm not talking about just his the hair, which is easily styled after Jackie and Steak and Eagle's Claw, that era of Jackie hairdo. But like he has the face too. It's like uncanny how much he looks like Jackie Chan. But Conan Lee's character in this movie, Jay, he doesn't really. He's just kind of like there to protect his uncle. He doesn't really have any other motive other than that, besides like just showing off that he's really good at martial arts and also picking on his servant,
right?
Typo.
Exactly. He's good at martial arts, so he's the main character who can fight. And then he's trying to tone down the perversion from his sidekick, who keeps on reading classical porn, I guess you could say.
Just drawings. That's it. That's just drawings. And like, oh, that's so sad. Like what an age we live in now. That's like, oh, it's just a bunch of pictures is enough to make like someone salivate. Right.
Like classical line drawings is hardcore pornography for these people.
Anyways, so, like, we mentioned that the story is simple, and we get revelations of, like, why Hiroyuki Sanada is after the uncle later on in the movie. Pretty straightforward. And then there's, like, the ending is so weird. The last 10 minutes of the movie is, like, What?
Oh, I kind of
What happened?
I kind of hate it. I kind of hate how this
What
movie
happened?
ends. They set it up. They set up the ending, but it completely ruins everything that happens before that, because there's a point where you have our two leads, Conan Lee and Hiroyuki Sanada, and they do a great job of setting up that neither one of them is technically in the wrong, but they have to fight. And so when they're fighting at the end, you're like, oh no, like, I don't really know who I should be rooting for, because neither one of them is technically the bad guy, but they have to have this final confrontation. It gets resolved, and you're like, okay, cool. That's a great resolution to this. And then there's still 10 or 15 more minutes left of the movie, and you realize the headlining villain has not yet appeared, and now he's finally comes into frame. It just like kind of ruins everything that came before that. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, I don't know if that's much of a spoiler. We'll just say that, if you are watching this movie because you expect Hwang Jung-lee, who we've talked about in the past in Game of Death 2 and other movies that we've definitely talked about in the past, and just blanking on them right now. I'm most famous for Drunken Master, the original. That's a villain there. Hwang Jung-lee shows up in the last 10 minutes and he fights for 4. So he's really like not a main player in the movie. I can't find enough information on the movie, but I'm curious how much of that is just like a change in script, right? Because as we all know, Hong Kong productions is like, they will literally, it's pretty well known that they'll write the story as they go.
Yeah. So,
things will be filmed chronologically. So I'm wondering if that was like, all right, and here's my tinfoil hat conspiracy, that they didn't want to show an outcome where Hiroyuki Sanada won or lost against Conan Lee. So they just had some sort of camaraderie moments where they're like, okay, they just have to come together and fight someone else. Hong Jun-Lee, are you available for a shoot?
Well,
and that's my theory.
They do set up his character very briefly in the beginning, because there is a moment where Conan Lee, I guess, is mocking and beats up some other religious figure. And he says something along the lines of like, oh, I'm going to sick my dad on you. And then he runs away, and then you forget about it. And then when he comes back in the end, I'm just like, oh, this is now coming back? No.
Yeah.
No,
honestly, that
no.
That could have been a throwaway line. It really could have, and it could have been something more epic. Because, I mean, the again, there's a lot I don't want to spoil here, but we can just say that there's a bigger force that was originally the thing that was propelling Hiroyuki Sanada to leave Japan and go to China anyways. So I thought, like, maybe that would come back into play. But no, it's just Hwang Jung-lee is, I guess, like a cultist? I don't really know. Like a magician?
Yeah.
Or like magic guy? Whatever. And it's like, well, we didn't set him up enough. We had bigger things to worry about. And you set up, I wouldn't say it's world building, but you set up other things to really keep in the back of your minds. Like, the magic cultist angle is not something I cared about. I didn't need this to come back into play.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody wanted this ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I didn't want this ending, and unfortunately, it's what we got. But everything before that's great. If it ended like 10 minutes sooner, I would have been so happy.
Yeah. I mean, a couple weeks ago, maybe months ago, I covered Shogun as a quick jab. For those of you who are interested, check out our Patreon. You'll hear what I said about that. And then, like, every once in a while, like, I'm reminded, like, oh yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada got his start in martial arts, and this is one of his early films.
Mm-hmm.
One of his early films. And I forget that sometimes because, like, like with Shogun, like, he's a serious dramatic actor in that, and then here is like, the acting is not the thing that he's known for here, but his martial arts chops is like so fucking impressive here, that I forget that, like, oh, these are the same person. Like, he's evolved so much as an actor.
He's got a long career, and we've covered him in, there's that movie where he got buried
Yeah,
by a bulldozer.
that's so long ago.
With
that was so long
Michelle
ago.
Yeoh and Michael. Is it Michael Wong? Oh, I always forget the title of that movie. Is it Royal Warriors? Is that the one?
Is it?
But yeah,
That was a while ago.
But yeah, he's such a good on-screen fighter, and it's interesting because when you see him here, there's an interesting thing about this movie's action because we're in 1982, and you can tell they're still veering away from the Shaw Brothers metronome, slower style of fighting, and getting into like faster choreography and shorter takes. Like you don't have those elongated takes anymore. Like you can see there's actually a lot more cuts in this. But then you can see sometimes, I want to say maybe with certain performers, probably with Conan Lee, you can see that more operatic, traditional martial arts shapes that are coming into play where they're going like bam, hit, and they're hitting these poses. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's Hiroyuki Sanada who's fighting with, I guess, some other Japanese swords wielders, and it looks like normal speed. Like they're not, they're just kind of fighting it, and it doesn't look like it has to be slowed down and then sped up because they're trying to hit a beat.
Well, it's funny you say that because Conan Lee and Hiroyuki Sanada, they fight so often in the movie that I'd say half of the fights in the movie are them. It's between the two of them. Yeah. Like that's how often they're fighting in the film. And this movie as a whole is a good bridge between the old school and the more modern, the 80s era Hong Kong films. Like, you get those semblances of it's like the metronome timing of the action. But like you can start to see that like, okay, they're speeding up now. They're doing visual camera tricks or like editing to hide the fact that, it can look like a little blocky in terms of their movements. But, it's at no point that I feel like, okay, this just feels like people dancing. And that's something I found really impressive about it. It's like something I sometimes complain about in some of these older fights is like sometimes fights just go on way too long. and in this movie, I felt that, but they kept it interesting enough where I didn't feel bored. But some of these fights really they feel quite long.
Yeah. I think this is just a testament to Corey Yuen's action direction because there's a very, very long kind of fight, but more so action sequence in the middle of the movie where it is all ninja stuff, where it's deception, it is traps, it's booby traps, it's a constant pull of Hiroyuki Sanada trying to escape Conan Lee's, room of death. And I think what Corey Yuen has done is that he keeps on changing things up. He keeps on evolving how Hiroyuki Sanada is trying to escape out of this room. And he's having so much fun with the visuals of it. Like he's playing with the shadows. He's playing with the frame and having things just move across it like it's a painting as opposed to relying on too much camera work. So I really... It's funny because in this movie, there's so many, I guess you could say, antiquated style framing shots where, let's have a character stand in between somebody's legs, and that creates a triangle. And you can say like, oh, that's such an amateur filmmaking technique. Oh, like let's shoot over the shoulder, and it's framed like in the right triangle of the arm. It's like, yeah, like that kind of looks very old-fashioned, and you could say antiquated or amateur, but it works. It's composition that works for cinematography. I like that stuff, even though it looks old. I like it.
Well, I mean, again, it's a style of the time. Like think of The Graduate, right? Dustin Hoffman, like in between, like framed right in between those legs.
Exactly.
But like it's an older style, like shot composition. I wouldn't say it's completely out of fashion anymore.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's
with action movies. Nobody shoots like that anymore. You're not going to see somebody like framed in between legs, or even because like in action he's playing with the composition, which I really really like. He's playing with the shadows because the lights turn off, and then you have to make sure those silhouettes really pop, but he's using the whole frame to make sure he's creating a visual where everything works and you can still see it. Even when you watch it in the low quality, you're like, oh, I can still make out what's going on in the dark scenes.
Oh, I was just going to mention the dark scenes. This is again, directorial debut of Corey Yuen 50 years ago. My God, 50 years ago. And this is, I don't ever want to hear people complain about that or give too much credence to the idea that you can't film a good action scene in the dark. Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Like you need to cast some spill some light on the scene, like just cast some sort of tiny little ray of light on the floor or something, but then the rest is all darkness. But that's just enough to let you know that what's going on, but all around the characters it's pitch black. It's just it's very clear when they're fighting in the dark. Like I know what's going on, and I have no problem discerning the action. This is how you do it, and it's not, and it's kind of hard to explain, without going in super granular detail. But it's also works really well with the storytelling of the fight in the dark, right? And it's there's a lot that goes on in terms of Hiroyuki Sanada, the ninja, is trying to turn off the lights, and Conan Lee's trying to turn it back on, and they're having that fight, fun little fight, trying to get the one up on one another, stuff like that. Really makes for entertaining fights. It makes for a very fun action scene without them even technically having choreography in between.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really good storytelling.
Right, that's what I was saying. It's a long action scene more so. There's fighting in between, but it's more so just elaborate setup of Hiroyuki Sanada trying to escape this death room that he's created.
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to, because there's a lot of action in the movie, if you strip out all the action, the story is actually super simple to the point where there's really not enough to talk about. Mm-hmm. Really, it's you get your revelations, obviously, why characters are motivated to do so and so, but it's all fodder to get you to the next action scene. But at the same time, it's not bad. It's just you're well aware that it's not, story's there, but it's not super important, because there's just so much fighting and so much that goes on that you can just turn your brain off and just watch it for the fighting, which is an overwhelming amount too. And then I wouldn't say it shits the bed at the end, but it's a pretty wet fart, because it's, God, what the hell?
not the best creative decision, but I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there anything else you want to discuss about the movie, or you think we can go into the action? Because I think this will be fun for us to delve deeper into the specifics of these kind of elaborate action sequences that Corey Yuen has made.
Yeah, nothing more specific than that. I'd say already from a general standpoint, I do like this film on an action standpoint, but let's go into it in more detail. So if you guys are interested and want to hear more, you can consider subscribing to us on Patreon. You'll listen to our full spoiler and action spoiler segment, but also we'll dive into the action in greater detail. But also, you can get the exclusive quick jab episodes that we also produce. Episodes for movies that haven't become their own full-fledged episodes, but maybe we can give a little quick review of those. But yeah, with that said, let's talk about Ninja and the Dragon's Den.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts.
And that is Ninja in the Dragon's Den.
Yay, we made it. We made it through that horrible ending. I mean, it's funny when we talk about it, and we talked about in the Patreon section, from pretty much verbatim what's happening in the final moments of this action scene, and it's so silly. It's a shame because it kind of ruins the movie, but it is funny to talk about how stupid and dumb it is.
It's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb. If it's quite, because it's literally the last 10 minutes that kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth. But the rest of the movie is very well made, very entertaining. Corey Yuen's directorial debut. It's obviously not the most well written. I mean, that's that may or may not be attributed to him. He wasn't the one who wrote it, right? So
he made great action direction from kind of a subpar script, a simple script that falls off the edge at the end. Yeah.
But again, very entertaining film. I'd say. Does it have its problems? Sure, but I think that from an action standpoint, it's not even about the choreography. I think that the action is just very entertaining and very creative, and that's the reason why I would actually recommend this movie. Not so much for the choreography. I actually don't think that the choreography is Corey Yuen's best, but because it's just so diverse and there's so much variety in it that I've never felt like, oh, I've seen this already, or like I'm bored to tears because I'm like, eh. And there's also a lot of fighting in the movie. There's a lot of it. We didn't even talk about most of it. We just kind of like, that happened. All right, next scene. But there's a lot in this film that we weren't able to fully cover in the Patreon section. I'd say just...
Well, I was going to say, it's funny you said that, like, oh, I've never seen this before, but because it's a Corey Yuen film, he loves to just self-reference himself over and over and over again. I don't know if you caught some of this, but, like, the dummy stuff he does in the middle action scene with the escape room from death, that comes back in Yes Madam. I don't know if you remember when Choi Hawk is trying to escape from this one guy. He starts throwing dummies that have explosives.
Oh, yeah.
Like that comes back there. The cape fight, that black and white cape that he fights Conan Lee with, Conan Lee uses to fight Hiroyuki Sanada. Corey Yuen does an even crazier version of that in My Father is the Hero, where Rong Yuan fights with his blazer, and he starts using that like a cape against Jet Li. So like he just constantly taking stuff that he's done and just iterating on it over and over and over again.
So what you're saying is that after this, it's all downhill for Yuen. Like this is where all his original ideas came from. And he's like, I'm just gonna rehash this for the next 50 years of my career.
It's funny because like even though he keeps rehashing very similar ideas, like the cape sequence in this, like it's cool and it's different. But then I love how it's the same thing, but even crazier in My Father is a Hero. So he has these cool ideas that he just doesn't want to let go. He's like, no, I like that idea. Let me see if I can just keep on doing this over and over and over again and change it. Because what is it? The knee giant from Yes Madam, where Michelle Yeoh crashes through the glass, pulling the guys. Like he's done that in like other movies as well. He does different iterations of it. He did that in Romeo Must Die, actually, with Jet Li, but Jet Li is like crashing through like a different way. So he's, like maybe he's just like running out of ideas, but he's like, all right, I'm just going to keep on going back to my old stuff and just remixing it because that's what he does.
Hey, I was going to say, like, don't fix what's not broken, but he's just like, let's just keep doing it. And like, why not? Like, hey, I'm getting paid for this, and people, love my action style. He is one of the greats. Yeah. So he will be he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, man. Like we covered Dead or Alive in one of our episodes a while ago, and we commented on, I can't believe this is his last directorial debut. I don't think officially. I'm pretty positive he probably has had his hands in other stuff, but as a full movie that he directed, that's what it says on IMDb. So it's kind of a shame that that's, like, I guess it's technically his final film when he just, out of the gate, Ninja and the Dragon's Den. It's just like crazy how far he's come.
Yeah, I mean, if both movies have shown anything, boobs are the way to victory. I think that's basically the common theme between those two movies. So, are you
trying to say that we're the villains, the viewers are the villains, and he's defeating us with boobs?
Yeah, something. So we have to end this episode on some positive note here.
Okay, sure. Okay. We've been defeated by boobs. Thank you, Corey Yuen.
Yes.